Okay, so we're going to use everything we just did, but now we're getting our inequality from a word adventure, so we got to pull that. Okay, the monthly profit P of a small business that sells bicycle helmets can be modeled by the function P of x equals negative 8x squared plus 600x minus 4,200, where x is the average selling price of a helmet. What range of selling prices will generate a monthly profit of at least $6,000? All right, so with that in mind, let's start solving it. So let's write our equation. Okay, so our quadratic is negative 8x squared plus 600x minus 4,200. Now, what is our constraint? Let's include our constraint. That's the $6,000 that we want in profit. All right, next step, identify or determine your inequality. Okay, I want to make at least $6,000, so that means I need to make 6,000 or more. So my equation needs to be greater than or equal to 6,000. Now, just like we did in the previous one, write your related equation. Okay, write our related equation. So instead of the greater than or equal to, it is now just equal to. And we want to write it in standard form so we can move forward. So we're going to subtract 6,000 from both sides. So that gives our C value, our constant term, negative 10,200. From here, just start factoring stuff. So factor out anything that we can that's in all the values. So you want your x squared realistically to be by itself at all possible. So we're going to factor out negative 8. Factoring out negative 8. So I'm going to divide each term by the negative 8. So when I take negative 8x squared divided by negative 8, leaves me with 1 with the negative 8 out front. 600 divided by negative 8 is negative 75. And negative 10,200 divided by negative 8 is 1,275. From here, we're going to start plugging in with our quadratic formula. So write out the quadratic formula. You should know this by now. We were tested on already. Go from there. Now, what we want to do is substitute our values of A, B, and C. So you're looking at the equation in the parentheses now, okay? Because we can divide both sides by negative 8 and make it go away. So then we're just left with the x squared minus 75x plus 1275. So plug in each of those values. All right, so our B is negative 75, so minus negative 75 plus or minus the square root of negative 75 squared minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is 1275, all over 2 times A. Now from here, you're just simplifying, okay? So when we simplify negative 75, you get positive 75. Negative 75 squared is 5,625. And negative 4 times 1 times 1,275 is negative 5,100. All over 2 times 1, which is 2. Do the math underneath the radical. 5625 minus 5,100 is 525. Since we're doing a word adventure, remember, just use the calculator for your square root. So the square root of 525 is roughly 22.91. 75 plus 22.91 over 2 is 97.91 over 2. When you divide 97.91 divided by 2, you get 48.96. And then 75 minus 22.91 divided by 2 is 52.09 over 2. When you divide that, you get 26.05, roughly. Okay, so now we have our critical values. So just like we did on the previous ones that weren't word adventures, we're going to graph our critical values. All right, you don't have to number it exactly. Get them on the scale so you know where things are. All right, you need to start testing values here now, so you know roughly where your values are going to be on your number line. You need to pick values from each of the intervals. All right, so I'm going to test 0, 30, and 50. All right, so there are one from each of the intervals. So just plug them into the original inequality that you set up. When I plug in 0, I get negative 4,200 is greater than or equal to 6,000. That's not true. Plug in 30. When I plug in 30, and then I do the math on the left-hand side, I get 6,600 is greater than or equal to 6,000. That is true, so we're going to use that one. And I plug in 50. When I do the math on the left for 50, I get 5,800 is greater than or equal to 6,000, which is also not true. Okay, so I know which interval will work. So now I need to that solution. All right, I'm going to identify it as an inequality and a meaningful statement. You'll see what I mean by meaningful statement. So my inequality, my values on my helmet need to be between 2605 and 4896. So that's how you write in between. All right, it does include those values. My meaningful statement, to obtain a profit of $6,000, the average price of a helmet needs to be between $26.05 and $48.96 inclusive. The word inclusive means that 2605 and 4896 are part of the solution. Okay. You have to include that the 2605 and the 4896 are prices, and that the solution needs to be between and including those two prices. Okay. So remember that when you're answering these solutions, give me a word adventure solution because it is a word adventure question. So this is the one for you to try. All right, so put in online, make sure you type out a meaningful statement generating your answer. All right, you're going to need your inequality and your meaningful statement.